Sorry, folks, about the technical difficulties. We got part two of our podcast here on March 26th. We had just finished up talking about winter is here, Tom Scalise's team. And the bottom line is that we're coming to is that it needs a lot of work, probably not ready to compete here. He's got some draft pieces that could help him, but, I don't think 2018 is his year, Chris. Am I right?
Yeah, absolutely. He's got some stuff to work with, but we'll see. He's got a few things on his plate left to do. So like we did last week, let's go back to the top and we'll look at some trades we think some teams should make. So let's start with Bogue. First thing for me, this is gonna sound a little crazy, but I think he should liquidate Julio into 2 to 3 tier 2 players. I don't know who, maybe like Doug Baldwin and I don't know, and somebody else, like a Jordan Howard type or something like that. Then you plug in Baldwin, you get probably, I don't know, 90% of Julio's production, and then you get a huge upgrade over James White by plugging in a Jordan Howard type. I think that immediately makes Bogue better.
Yeah, here's the problem with that, and we've kind of talked about it in previous podcasts, is that Bogue's asking price for Julio is a little bit ridiculous, and I don't think Bogue is willing to part with Julio for anything less than he's asking, and we can't really fault him for that. It's his team, his valuation. For me, I'm trying to get younger if I'm him, and because he's got some talented young pieces. I'm going to see if he can. I'm going to trade Breeze right now, probably to a team that's contending, but maybe not there. Honestly, I think I might be a candidate to take Breeze right there, and maybe it's a Breeze and Mariota or something like that. I think Bogue can afford to get younger. Listen, he's got Zeke, who's super young, Kelsey, who, for the position is young. I think he should trade Tate. I think he should trade Breeze. And I think he should trade Julio. He's got enough to work around. I wouldn't consider that to be a complete blow-up, but I think if he stacks up some picks for 2019 and replaces those players with maybe a notch down, I think he's still good enough to win the division. I think he's still good enough to make the playoffs and make some noise. The allure of the back-to-back titles is gone since he lost last year. So I think he needs to look at the strategy of, okay, when's my next 2-year window? And I think even if he wins this year, he might be looking at a Julio who's much worse next year. He's looking at a Breeze who may not even be around next year. I think the time is now to start looking for his new 2-year window.
Yeah, I could see. I could see that. I mean, I kind of I don't hate that idea. I know Bogue will never do it. Number one, I just know that he won't. Which I get it. I mean, look, his team is still very competitive. It's still very good. We said at the top of the show that he's a top 3 to 5 team in the league. Yeah. And there's no doubt about it. So the incentive to do that kind of thing is maybe not there, but by the same token, if you do undertake that, you could set up a potential 5-year window of being competitive, so there's upside to doing it. It's just a matter of whether he wants to go down that route. So now on the Dirty Mike here, man, we talked about it a little bit while we looked at his team, but I'm doing everything I possibly can to trade at least 2 of those picks for just solid players I can get. If I can get a solid player for pick 10 to plug into my running back spot, I'm doing it. If I can get, I don't know. If I can get Golden Tate for pick 12, I'm doing it. If I can get, I'm trying to think of somebody else I can get for pick 15 to plug in their wide receiver, I'm doing it. I think with Thomas, Ertz, and Hopkins, I want to just put solid pieces around them and go for titles while they're still young. That's what I would do. I'm going for it if I'm his team.
Yeah, I'm actually thinking quite the opposite, given that Hopkins and Thomas are super young here. I'm selling Rivers. If I can get something, anything for Blunt, I'm doing it. Manny Sanders, if I can get anybody with a pulse, I'm doing that. And I'm going to build around Thomas, Ertz, and Hopkins. I'm going to keep those 4 picks. Maybe I package a couple of them together to move up. Maybe I package them together with a player to move up. But I think his goal should be to keep 10 and 11 and turn 12 and 15 and maybe a couple players into 7 or 8. I don't really know off the top of my head who's in those draft positions. I think Jimmy might be a decent trade partner here for Dirty Mike. Give Jimmy a little bit of depth, maybe. I don't know, but off the top of my head, that's who's in a win now. I also think Goodell haters might be a good trade partner here to add a little depth to his team, and maybe give up some back end round ones this year or next. Again, this has middling team written all over it, and I'm not sure that there is a move to push him one way or the other.
Yeah, I mean,
this
it's
is a
going to
tough
take
team,
multiple moves either way.
Yeah, you're right. But he's got to choose, I think, one way or the other, because right now he's stuck in the middle.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So for accidents, I'm of the mind to blow this one up. I mean, I think he could get a legitimate ransom for Todd Gurley right now. Like, I'm talking like 5+ picks, close to Odell Beckham type value for the way Todd Gurley played last year and how young he is. If somebody came to him with a huge offer, I'd be listening if I was him. I think that could set him up to finally field a solid all-around team. Probably for the first time in his league history, to finally have a solid team top to bottom. I'm selling Dez. I'm not a believer. I just don't think he has. I think he's not aging gracefully, and I want out. I'd sell Greg Olsen to a tight end hungry team, because tight end is such a dumpster fire. He gives you some stability if he's healthy at least. Ajayi, I'd sell if I can get value for him. I mean, you're not going to get anything from Mike Wallace or Ted Ginn, let's face it. Edelman could probably fetch something decent, but who knows? I don't know if I'm making the picks at 14 and 17. I may do sell both and try and move up to get an impact player, even though it's not really going to help him because he needs depth. But I'd rather have an impact player than take 2 shots there at 14, 17, just because they're not premium picks. I mean, they're not going to – the odds of them hitting are pretty low. If you can get up to 9, yeah, maybe it's worth a shot, But, yeah, I mean, I don't want any part of this team. I like Winston as basically the only piece to build around, just because, Gurley, obviously, he's the number 1 player in Dynasty right now. So he's obviously a great building block piece. But if you don't have anything around him, it doesn't matter. I mean, you got to sell him off and get 3 to 5 really strong pieces back.
Yeah, I thought I was going to be making a statement here when I said I don't think Gurley will be on his team towards the end or as the season starts, but you took that one from me. I think it makes all the sense in the world here to give Gurley up. I don't think his value could get any higher than it is right now, coming off the season that he had last year. And I think people have been quick to forget that he put up an absolute dud 2 years ago. For him to have the value that he has right now, given what he did 2 years ago, I think is an absolute gift that he needs to take advantage of. Again, as we've said 400 times, will he? Probably not. But we don't know. We just don't know. That's the move that I'm making with this team. I think you're absolutely right with blowing this team up. I think Ajayi's value is pretty high right now. I think you could still get something for Edelman. I'm not trading up to get 14 and 17. I think I'm trading out of this year, trying to get a little something better next year. Or maybe you're trying to get 2 seconds for 14. I know last year there was a trade that went down where somebody got 3 seconds for a low teens pick. I think he can get that. And maybe he just tries to, a lot of young talent. Maybe you hit on 1 or 2. And he has his pick last year, so suck this year. Show up next year with a quality pick, maybe trade that again. Who knows? I mean, we could talk down the road all day long. But yeah, trade Olsen here, trade Dez for whatever. You can still maybe get a late first for Dez, I think. I don't know. I know I'm not giving it, but somebody might. Olsen, again, like you said, with tight end being a horrible, I think the name still carries enough weight where he might return something here. So for me, it's load up on picks and get out of this year, try to get into next year's draft, take a chance that the picks might be a little bit better. But for me, it's a no-go for accidents this year. So trade Gurley, trade Dez, trade Olsen, trade everybody.
Yeah, I mean, we're in agreement there. I mean, I don't see it with this team. It looks like another bad season. I mean, things have to break perfectly for him. And let's be honest. I mean, they have to break perfectly, and things usually don't break perfectly in fantasy. So,
No.
Let's move on to Tom here. Tom's interesting. Tom's interesting because he definitely has a plan towards rebuilding. He's been on this plan for basically since year one, which is fine. I mean, it is what it is. It's a plan. He's working on it. He's got some decent young talent. It's going to sound crazy, but I don't think there's much I do here. I don't think there's much you can do. I mean, I'd sell Riddick if I could. I'd sell Sterling Shepard if I could. I'd sell Aguilar if I could. I'd sell Bilal Powell, Jack Doyle. I'd sell basically anybody I wasn't confident was going to be part of my team in 2019 for whatever I could get, whether that be second rounders. If you can snag a late first somewhere, I'd do that. I'd settle for 19 picks. Anything I could really get to take shots, because I really need to build up my wide receiver core and my flex spots here. I mean, running back is the only position and quarterback with Watson are the only two positions he's basically set at. Everyone else I'd consider expendable.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking the same thing as you were saying it. I'm struggling to think of a move to make here. I think, if I saw this team in a vacuum here, I'm saying trade pick one. But he just traded for pick one, so that would make absolutely no sense for him to do that unless he got a crazy good offer. I mean, no one's taken really any of these players and giving anything of value or even a decent prospect. I think I'm selling Deshaun Watson because I think his like I said earlier, in a very small sample size, he's very, very hyped right now. And I think he's very capable of taking a large, large step back here. And if that happens for Tom, this team's in trouble for years, I think. He's got a lot of faith and a lot riding on Deshaun Watson. I think he's got Matt Ryan. I think right now you trade Deshaun Watson. Mate, can you get a first? I mean, Wentz went for 2 firsts. Right now, can you get a first and a second for Watson? I don't know. Let Matt Ryan ride out the next 4 or 5 years and give you good years. But he's got to move Ryan, I think, or he's got to move Watson and get something. I know quarterbacks are a dime a dozen here. But this team is just, 2 or 3 pieces to really love, and then the rest that you just don't love, and nobody else does either. So it's going to be tough to get something for these guys.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, so let's close out the show here with our predictions. Order of finish here. I don't think I'm going to be any surprise here. I'm picking the same order as last year. I'm going Bogue, Dirty Mike, Accidents Tom. For as much as we want these teams to do some things, these guys just don't make a lot of moves. It's just not their MO. This division just doesn't make a lot of moves, and I'm not expecting too many more here, before the season starts. So I'm gonna stick with status quo and go Bogue, Dirty Mike, Accidents Tom.
Yeah, I know I said in part 1 I'm done with Dirty Mike, but talking on this podcast, I might be hopping back on the bandwagon here. This is tough for me. Dirty Mike, number 1. Bogue, number 2. Tom, number 3, and Accidents, number 4 here. Shoot. God, I hate that pick. I hate everything about it. I just don't know what to say here. I don't know. I wish I didn't have to pick, but I did. That was it. I got nothing else for you.
That's it. Hey, well, that's a good way to end the show.
That's absolutely a pick right out of my rear end. So what do we got left coming up for our listeners? We have still the South or the West? What's your
We got the
division?
West Division, my division. We look forward to talking about that. Should be good. Should be high quality. I got a lot to say about it, obviously. We got that, and then I think right before the draft, we're gonna do maybe a draft preview show. Little
Mock draft if we can.
yeah. We'll try and get that in. Schedule's pending, but yeah, that's what we got coming down the pipe.
Okay, we need some subscriptions from our viewers. And Chris, I don't know if you know this, but this is a pretty monumental show for us in that we are likely to get our 100th view of all of our podcasts combined, which I know doesn't sound like a lot, but 100 turns to 1,000 turns to 1,000,000,000 rather rapidly. We're sitting at 96 total views right now. And I have a feeling by dinner time we're going to be at that 100 view mark.
Hey, we're getting there.
We're getting there. But right now we need you to go out there, subscribe to Matt Collins' channel where you find all of your NSDFL go-to stuff. Anything else, Chris, for the good of the matter?
That's all I got. We'll see you.
All right. Have a good day, everyone.